Okay, and now that I've gotten, at this point in time, I've gotten all of the images assembled that I've treated individually to get the chromatic aberration out of them. So I've got them all together and I've got them loaded into an animator. Now the work's already been done, but I'll give you an example. Let me just kind of just click down through here and you'll see how this animation was done. It was done by hand, and it focused primarily on this area of the back right here where this shadow ends. And of course, you know, as it turns around, the subject turns around, you have to change that point of focus. But in other words, it keeps everything stabilized right here, squarely in the back. So you can see as I click through. You know, it's having a good working knowledge of how sight functions or works in a human being. You know, the eye is only half of the ball game. You know, the other half is interpretation by the mind and how the eye and the mind work together. Initially, the eye only sees upside down, and then the mind inverts the images and everything. So having a good working knowledge of how things work cinematically. You know, you got a good image like this right here. You don't see much in that image, but the mind is a very forgiving thing. If you can surround that image with clearer ones, then it overlooks that image. And so when you see, I have this, that's not impressive, that's not impressive, that's a little better, that's not impressive, that's a little better, that's a little better, that's pretty good, that's pretty good, that's pretty good, you know, that sort of thing. And then when you animate them like this right here, it averages them, it sees the overall. And you see that the overall, the sum of all the images are greater than its parts. So, you know, you can see, you know, this is actually a pretty decent film once stabilized. And the way that this was stabilized right here was to line up the subject itself and follow the subject. In other words, it looks like that it was panning, the camera was panning along with the subject and on a stable platform. And there's other ways to stabilize as well. We'll discuss those. But I'll give you an idea of just how it was done by hand. Now, let me just stop it right here. And I'll just take samples out of the bunch and just scatter them. So, and let's play it. You see what I mean? Everything was done by hand, meticulously by hand, in an effort to get the most I could out of the film itself and out of the subject itself. You know, so we'll just undo what I just did. And we'll go to a different type of stabilization now. Now in this particular stabilization, I didn't stabilize the subject itself, but rather I stabilized the background. I lined up everything in the background as I continued to flip through the images in sequence. I made sure that all the background information was aligned so that whenever they began to flip through, they would build a panoramic image and you'd get to see the creature walk across this panorama. Let's just take a quick look. And like I said, you know, these kinds of things are not possible unless you have something good to work with. And the film, like I suspected in the beginning, was a much better film than what you ever saw on television or in the media. So, you know, when you get to these really good images, you're able to construct things like this. And this leads to other constructions as well that eventually take you to, to a point where you kind of get a feel for what it was like to be there. Let me just take you to one of those.